All right, it is time for the Gulf Coast Blitz here. Good evening to y'all as we come to you live here as we do each and every week on Monday nights usually. This is where this show usually is at. But the next two shows, not on their normal time slots for usually they're Tuesday nights, but we're doing it all tonight. Yes, we're running the marathon here, but quicker.
Marathon.
Yes, we're going to get it done. Yes, we're going to get a thing. And Mark Cannon says, Reno is looking nothing. I think the hat is giving it off here. So, yes, indeed. By the way, if you're following us on YouTube, especially the YouTube, we're our YouTube partner in the YouTube partner program now. And if you want to join us and you show your support, you can. There's the super thanks, the super chats, and the super stickers. You can see that in the chat box right next to it. It looks like a little dollar bill icon sign right there next to the where you enter the chat there on YouTube. And that's why you can show your support here, what we do here at FortHSFootball.com and on the Blitz shows here. And I see Emery Smith is already leaving us a comments, and he's like, "Hi, Josh. Hardy beat Discovery 42-0 last week in this Thursday, which, by the way, this was not on the schedule here, but as of late until Emery told me about this, and then Williston confirmed it. They're going to play. Williston's going to they rescheduled, and they're going to. This game was supposed to have been played during the week of Milton, and Williston and Hardy, the game was canceled, and so." But they are remaking it up at 7:00 Thursday night. So
be a good game.
Should be interesting because I was talking to Emery about this, and honestly, I'll say this: I kind of question, do they really both teams need it? Considering Hardy, yes, Hardy's on the inside the top 8 there in their class 3A region 3, and. But I just it makes me wonder if it's gonna hurt them or not. But they could go. I mean, they did win. They did win this past Friday night, so I mean, it could put Hardy at 5-5. But we'll see what happens. And Williston, I'll say this: Williston is definitely not what they were the past 2 years. I'll say that they've had their ups and downs. So, but if Hardy comes out and play a really good game Thursday night, hey, maybe he comes out with a victory instead. Mm-hmm. So,
very true.
But with that said, we're going to quickly get into this. It is the time for the Blitz lines here as we recap week 11 here, heading into this rare week number 12 of the regular season. And yes, indeed, Springstead edges Lecanto. How about this? To Springstead pulling off a 39-38 victory. And Reno, I know you were looking this up, but I don't think Springstead had entered any stats as of last night. I'm not sure if they've entered anything else yet, but man, talk about a barn burner. Man, like both teams, Springstead and Lecanto, in the thick of a playoff race. And for Springstead this week, they have a big district game against Gaither, but again, a lot of games this week along the Gulf Coast that are being made up, and we just tried to get 6 on the list, and that was a potential game that was going to be on the list, but didn't put it on the list. But it's still a big, huge game, a huge district game sitting there for Springstead District 5A7, and Springstead 7-1, Gaither 7-8-1 now. Gaither, I believe, is now 5-4. Gaither would actually have actually be like 6-2 actually, or 7-2 actually, had they not given up a couple of forfeit losses, wins to being forfeited. Yeah. But Springstead here, they were looking number 4 in their region, and of course, Gaither is sitting number 7 right now. But Lecanto, talking about them, Lecanto last week, they were sitting at number 7 in their region. So Lecanto now 6-4 on the season. We'll see if that how the loss impacts them in terms of the playoff positioning coming up here later this week when we finally get the playoff brackets going into the postseason. But another team that we're going to talk about later on with this team, but Wiregrass Ranch 9-0, and Reno, how about this? About Dylan Rose Bailey. What do you got on Dylan Rose Bailey?
Dylan Rose Bailey, 9 for 9, 136 yards passing, 50 rushing, big contributor this past weekend. I'm telling you, I've been saying it since I've been on the show with Josh. The ranch is real.
Yeah, the ranch is real. 35-18 over River Ridge. And by the way, this sets up a big, huge showdown this week. Some calling it the game of the century, the game of the year. I mean, actually, probably the game of the year, more like it, down in Pasco County as Wiregrass Ranch 9-0 against Mitchell 9-0. And hey, good evening to you, Mark Cannon again. The super sticker has gone up. How's it going? Yes, how is it going? Because I can see it, what he has said here on the YouTube chat itself. But appreciate you, Mark. Definitely love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark.
Yes, yeah. Let's celebrate indeed. Yeah, we are celebrating the sticker here as well. So, and how's it going? It is going because this we got some big playoff games, but I'm telling you, big games that are going to determine playoff spots. So again, Wiregrass Ranch 9-0 against Mitchell 9-0. And that game we will definitely be talking about here coming up here in the Pick Six. Yeah, that game is at Mitchell Thursday night. So huge, big game in the Gulf Coast region. And talking about, we had head coach Jordan Ingman on last week from Port Charlotte, and they survived the test against Zephyr Hills. And man, talk about what they did, Reno, because 28-18 Port Charlotte, they win by 10, but Zephyr Hills tried to throw everything at the Pirates.
Zephyr Hills did not give up because they had a 5-game winning streak that they had to protect, but in the end it snapped. And it was all led by Myron Charles with 2 sacks, 8 tackles. Huge defensive stop over there for Port Charlotte.
No, absolutely. And Emory Williams Smith, Peace River rivalry. The game was supposed to be slated for Thursday. It's been bumped up to Tuesday because they're afraid they want to make sure this game gets in.
That's right.
There's something out there with an R out there. I'm not that's named R, like Raphael or something like that. Yeah, we won't talk about him, but yeah. As we roll along, but yes, Emory Smith, you're right about this, on the money. We will talk about the Peace River rivalry. We'll actually talk about Charlotte here in a moment, in a few minutes as well here as we roll along here. But Clearwater Central Catholic, after being on the wrong side of the scoreboard the last 2 games, they slammed the door shut on Boca Ciega 55-21. And Reno, how about Jashawn Newton here? I mean, he finally found his groove again here in this game against Boca Ciega, and 132 and a touchdown. I bet there's some other stats sitting there about him, I think, as well.
There are. I couldn't find them right away.
But I'll tell you this right now.
Yes,
so
tell me.
100. How about this? 132 yards rushing touchdown on only 8 carries, 169 yard passing and 2 touchdowns, and he completed 75% of his passes. I will tell you that right now.
There. 75%. That's key.
That's key. Yeah. When I say a quarterback throws over 60% in a game, that's pretty. He's having a pretty good night in the ballpark.
Yeah, that's a pretty strong game.
No, absolutely. So, yes, indeed. So Clearwater Central Catholic now sitting there, now finishing up the season with regular season with 8-2 record. Boca Ciega 4-5, and I do believe they have a makeup game this week as well. Going into Frostproof ousting Bayside in the SSA opening round. Yes, they did. They outlasted Bayside 28-20. One of the big results of the SSA, but one of the tighter games there. Frostproof 7-3 on the season, and they continue their season, which Dante Daniels for Frostproof scored 2 touchdowns. Had 2 touchdowns on the night, and actually. Looking at this, Charlie Plain and Landon Fuller also joined in with rushing touchdowns as well. So all rushing touchdowns, no passing. There you go. It is huge. And
sometimes you just gotta hit the ground running sometimes.
No, absolutely. Got to hit the ground running. Lakeland Christian blasting Northside Christian 49-19. And for the Vikings, AJ Trudell and Kenyon O'Neill each had a rushing touchdown, while DJ Howard had a pick 6. And yeah, talk about it. You score on offense, you score on defense. Usually you're going to win a ball game by doing that. And Lakeland Christian looking pretty good. Northside Christian, not a game that we're going to have on the pick 6, but they got the makeup game with St. Petersburg Catholic for their district championship, and that is District 1A9, and that's interesting enough, that is a 2-team district in that district right there, Northside Christian and St. Petersburg Catholic. And I can say this right now, whichever team loses, they're out. They're not making the playoffs. So it is going to be critical between both the Mustangs and the Barons to win this game, the Northside Christian Mustangs versus the St. Petersburg Catholic Barons. So yeah, big, huge playoff implications sitting there on the line for them. All right, on to Dunbar here as we talk about the Dunbar Tigers. They edged Fort Myers in a crucial game, that big game for both of them in terms of playoff rankings, and that's 28-21. And Reno, I think you got some stats you have got on Dunbar, I believe. And yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Talk about the Tigers.
Big game in the air. Austin Price coming out with 194 yards passing, but it doesn't, as we said, sometimes you got to hit the ground running. And Tyler Gore came out 82 yards carry on 17 carries, 82 yards on 17 carries. And that's putting the work in right there.
No, absolutely. And Mark Cannon says Green Wave heartbroken again by Dunbar. This is two of the top teams there in Lee County, Dunbar and Fort Myers, and in most years. And boy, Green Wave cannot catch a break there against Dunbar. And I'll tell you this, looking at this right here, when it comes to Fort Myers, last week they were ranked number 4 in the region. They're now 6-3. I believe they do have a makeup game here as well this week. And I can tell you that looking at this, may set them back a couple spots, may not set them back, because playing Dunbar usually leads to a pretty good strength of schedule there. And for Dunbar, for them in Class 4A Region 3, that'll help with trying to make up some ground, as Port Charlotte and Naples were the leaders last week in that region. But needless to say, I don't think either team's going to miss the playoffs on that. It's just a matter of where they land out seeding wise for the playoffs as we roll along here. Bishop Rowe gaining big ground, big win over Miami Palmetto. And man, Reno, we were wrong on this one. We were both wrong on this one. Miami Palmetto, man, but Carter Smith, Carter Smith's been sidelined, which has also been part of the big issue for Bishop Rowe. But Eric Daniels, I believe you did pick Bishop Rowe for the win on the pick 6 last week. Eric Daniels, and good evening to you. Glad to see you on here. And I believe you were right, Eric. You did call it. So so yes, but the Vikings defense actually is the one that actually helped it from them beating the visiting Panthers. And Bishop Verreau held Miami Palmetto scoreless for 43 minutes, according to the Fort Myers News Press. So, 43 out of a 48-minute game. So, 19-0 lead into the fourth quarter. But got to give it up to the Vikings. That was a huge win right there for them, and using a very strong defense to keep things going. And got to give Miami Palmetto some credit there for playing tough. But the Bishop Rowe Vikings now sitting there looking pretty good, because they needed that kind of momentum boost, as they are 6-3 going into a huge district game against Glade Central, who is 9-0. Yes, they did win the muck ball, which we will talk about on the other side in South Florida a little bit. But Glade Central, Bishop Verreau, both teams there sitting there for a district championship. We'll talk more about that in the pick 6. Charlotte picks up a clutch win over North Fort Myers. And this one we had on the pick as well. And yeah. Clutch win for the Fighting Terrapins, but the Red Knights 14-10. I mean, yeah, this really kind of got really an issue here. And the Red Knights, they needed their defensive line to prove to be resilient after losing their 4-star defensive lineman James Johnson last week, but it still wasn't enough there, as Charlotte came out with the victory at home. And boy, but it's honestly at this point now, both teams are still going to make the playoffs, but for Charlotte. That this is a huge win, a huge way to potentially get into the top 4 mix of their region. But if they can do it, but they were at last week number 7. But I almost want to think that this victory is going to actually help to put them past North Fort Myers, maybe move them up to the 5 seed, maybe potentially move them up to 4 seed. But as it says, it all goes. We will talk about them in the Peace River rivalry coming up here in a few minutes here on the Pick 6, because yes, we are going to talk about that game, which is set for tomorrow night, by the way. So, yes, Venice says Vero has a defense hub, but yeah, you're right, Mark Cannon, because they sure did not have a defense against Venice. Woo. Yeah.
Fun times.
All right, let's talk about that was an all offensive game. And I was questioning if Venice even had a defense. Venice's defense showed up in the second half of the season. So, I mean, you got to get the Indians on there. So, but yes, indeed, Tuesday night football. And make sure, again, Tuesday night football on the day of you doing your civic duty. So, there you go. Some football, election night football, basically, is what we're going to call it there. So, yes, indeed. All right, let's talk about the Sunshine State Athletic Association playoffs here real quick. Let's go over what we have here with them. Let's start with the 8-man bracket. The only team actually a couple of teams in the region here to talk about. First was Canterbury. They were the 4 seed. They fell to Merritt Island Christian, the number 1 seed in that bracket, 20-6. Donahue Catholic, Ave Maria, they were the number 3 seed. They fell to Countryside Christian, 35-13.
Let's go Countryside.
Yes, indeed. Shorecrest Prep, another team, the defending 8-man state champion for the SSAA. They beat Lake Mary Prep 60-35. They're actually the 2 seed. So actually, I actually got the seeding backwards a little bit on that one because it's actually a seeded 1 through 8. But Countryside Christian, Canterbury was actually the 8 seed. That was a 4-5 game. So yes, Countryside Christian actually is the 4 seed and beat Donahue Catholic, the 5 seed. Shorecrest Prep beat that 7 seed Lake Mary Prep, and they will host Ocala Christian, who beat Masters Academy out of Vero Beach 28-22. So 1-4-2-3 matchup there in that SSA 11-man state championship bracket. And then for the teams in this region, Out of Door Academy beats actually, when did I put that? I should have put the Out of Door Jupiter Christian. It's actually flipped around the other way around. So for the game in a moment, but I'll talk about that here in a moment. Oxbridge Academy beat Out of Door Academy 30-21 over Oxbridge, and then Sefner Christian falls to Jupiter Christian 34-20. Out of Door Academy will be at Jupiter. Out of Door Academy will host Jupiter Christian. It should be Out of Door Academy 1, Jupiter Christian 3. So I flipped that on the graphic when I was trying to update it somehow earlier. And then the SSA Atlantic Championship bracket there, we don't really have much there to talk about there in this region outside of Frost, except for Frostproof won 28-20 over Bayside, and American Heritage beat LaBelle 35-0. So Frostproof will go on the road to American Heritage this week. And of course, again, we talked about that double forfeit out there. We'll talk about that in the North Florida Blitz, what's going on with that one. And then with the SSA 11-man state championship bracket, right here, looking at the teams, we only have the couple of teams really actually just one actually is Oasis. They were the number 2 seed in that South bracket, 2 versus 3, and they beat Westminster Academy 19-7 to move on. They will travel over to Fort Lauderdale this week to play NSU University School in that South bracket of the SSA 11-man state championship bracket. And with that said, Reno, I know you got your Powerade. I got my water here, and we're going to take a water break here, and we're going to take that 2-minute water break, and then we're going to come back, fan question, and then, hey, the best part of the show is the Pick 6. We'll be right back right here on the Gulf Coast Blitz here on FortHSFootball.com. All right, welcome back here to the
Yeah.
Gulf Coast Blitz. Yes, indeed. Much needed water break after a lot of talk there. But fan question of the week, probably more like fan comments right now because, I was trying to avoid talking about this, but here we go. Henry Williams brought it up. 83-8, Booker beat DeSoto County, and it's a no need to run up the score when you're already so far ahead with 64-0 at halftime and 70-0 early in the third. And Ron Saletta, yes, this Booker, the team that won, kicked 5 onside kicks. There's no place for that. There is absolutely no place for that, and that to me is like unsportsmanlike in so many ways. And there was another run of like 70, 80-point games. There was even one a 90-point game this past week, and it's just like, when does the madness stop? So it's like, yeah, it's sad that teams are running up points like this when there's no necessary to do that and potentially risk injury there. And then Jake Del Castillo asks, any predictions who may end up playing district champs Lake Placid 2A Region 2? It looks like Cocoa and Bradford are close on ratings. Well, the situation's this, Coach. I can tell you this right now. One of two options. If Bradford holds on to the 1 seed, Bradford's coming to Lake Placid. Okay? That's one scenario. But if Cocoa takes the 1 seed in that region, Lake Placid's on the road to Cocoa. Now, here's the other scenario that I don't think it's going to it's more, there's probably, I'd say less than 5% chance this happens. But again, Newberry also was close in the ratings too. But if Newberry somehow catches that 3, go from getting 3 to 1, then Lake Placid would be on the road to Newberry to play Newberry. So there's some options there, but I'm kind of curious to see, because Bradford, their game against Niffy was actually canceled. I'm not sure if it was marked as a forfeit or not in the system because it was pulled out of the scheduling, but Bradford didn't play last week. But we'll see what happens here. Cocoa 6-3 on the season, Newberry 8-2, by the way, and then Bradford 8-1. So, but we'll see what the final bracket looks like. But several scenarios. Well, there's the only option that Lake Placid gets a home game in the first round is they get Bradford in that Bradford draws to that 1 seed. But if it's Cocoa or Newberry, Lake Placid will be on the road. And yes, Eric Daniels, I agree with you about going back to that. The officials should have called the game in that situation, and I do agree with you on that one. The officials should have called, and they should have called the game in several games this past week, just because it's just really, really interesting. So, and Booker has Gibbs tomorrow night, so it could be a repeat of the Soda game. Oh boy, that is. I hope that does not happen. And every state has some bad apples on running up the score. Sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. Christopher Like says, and you're right. It's just it just seems like it's been a little bit more commonplace here with the run-ups this year. But I think it's people, like, oh well, they say margin of victory is a factor in the ratings, but my understanding is that the margin of victory only there's a cap at the margin of victory. What that cap is, my understanding is somewhere in the neighborhood of between 16 and 20 points is where they cap it at. But that's what I've been told, not officially on record or anything like that. So, and Tony Bone Roof chimes in, says, I played at DeSoto and it's an embarrassing loss. Need better coaching now. Ooh, man. Oh boy. Fans are not happy about that, Reno. Not especially when but it's unnecessary for the opponent to go put an 83 like that and do 5 onside kicks too, just to do that. So
you just need better protections in place, and that's something that the big organizations are going to have to talk about and put rules to control it.
No, you're absolutely right. But with that time, it is time for the Pick Six, as we do every week. And as y'all can do on the chat, you can participate wherever you're watching us at on Facebook, YouTube, or X/Twitter. And by the way, if you're not subscribed on YouTube, hit that subscribe button at Florida HS Football. We are now part of the YouTube partner program. And so you can show us your support like Mark Cannon did earlier with one of the super stickers in the super chats. We definitely appreciate Mark there as well. So as we roll along with this, last week, 4-2 in the Gulf Coast here. Reno 3-3. We call it even. We'll
50%.
call it even there on that one. There you go. That's all that matters. All right, let's talk about me, where I'm at 45-19 on the season, just a little over 70% here on the Gulf Coast Blitz. Didn't go down too far there with the 2 losses I took, so but I was like at 71% last week at 70 or 70.5. Didn't really hurt too much, but I'll keep it. I like it.
It hurts. It's a big hurt. Don't worry.
All right, as we roll into this District 3A10 title again, we have a lot here in terms of games that are going to matter for playoff positioning, or in terms of, who's going to get a district title, who may, every game here that we're talking about is going to impact playoff positioning for these teams. Most of these teams are going to, if not all of them, are going to be in the playoffs. So, first up, Jefferson 8-0 at Chamberlain 7-2. Both these teams, they weren't even on the playoff radar last year. Both of these teams have had impressive turnarounds this year, and I got to give it both up for the Jefferson Dragons and the Chamberlain Storm here. But at the end of the day, I think Joe Medulla's group is going to take home the win in the district title. Jefferson will move to and officially keep the undefeated status of their season intact, and that's where I'm rolling. But Reno, where are you thinking about rolling with this one here?
Dragons fly on the road and take the win.
All right, so Reno is going Jefferson here, and Christopher Like is going Jefferson by 11. Mark Cannon is going with the Dragons, and Eric Daniels is going with Jefferson on the road. Jefferson again been looking pretty good, and they have been the number 1 seed for they've been between the number 1 and number 2 seed, sitting there in Class 3A Region 3 this year. And Emory Williams Smith is picking Jefferson. Now I wonder if they will keep the number 2 seed if the number move up. That is a good question. And Ron Salata is going with Jefferson as well. All right. We were pretty consensus there on Jefferson here. All right. For the District 1A7 title, it is Victory Christian at Carrollwood Day. Now there's a caveat here. Victory Christian beats Carrollwood Day. We are going to be actually in a situation that there will be a 3-way tie. Oh, by the way, Slick E says he's going Chamberlain. So, okay, we maybe not a full consensus, but pretty close to consensus there. So, again, Victory Christian, they beat Carrollwood Day, who Carrollwood Day already has beaten Lakeland Christian's 3-team district. So, if Victory Christian beats Carrollwood Day, we could be in a situation here that makes things very, very interesting. I want to say that, Lakeland Christian did. I want to go back here real quick on this one because I believe that, let me pull up the schedule here on one of these teams here real quick just to make sure that I want to make sure that I'm actually confirmed it here with Lakeland Christian. Yes, Lakeland Christian did beat Victory Christian. So Victory Christian needs a win here. Victory Christian wins, it's a 3-way tie in that district. Carrollwood Day wins, it will be Carrollwood Day taking the title and getting into the playoffs for sure. Victory Christian will most likely get an at-large berth. But for me, the Patriots, I think Patriots have played a tough schedule throughout that 5-3 record. That really means not anything because they have been playing a tough schedule. And I said that weeks ago when they played Lakeland Christian, that Victory Christian Carrollwood Day was going to get Lakeland Christian because of the comparables of the way the schedules were. And sure enough, Carrollwood Day blasted Lakeland Christian. So with that said, I'm going with Carrollwood Day here with the pick. And just go ahead and take the outright win for the Patriots. Reno, how are you feeling about this one?
I think Victory Christian will come to town, rock the boat a little, and make it a very messy end of the year for us. So I'm going Victory on this one.
Ooh, I like it because you actually have got a little bit of the audience in agreement but Christopher Like is going Carrollwood Day by 6. Ron Salata is going with Carrollwood Day. However, Mark Cannon going with Carrollwood Day. Now, this is where you got some friends in low places here because Eric Daniels likes chaos because he is going Victory Christian.
That's right. Let's go, Eric. That's right.
So, yes.
Welcome to my island.
Yes, indeed. All right. Reno with the Storm reference. I like it. All right. Oh, if I can get that to come down there. There we go. All right. So as we roll along, game number 3, North Fort Myers at Dunbar, and either one is playing for a district title. This is a makeup game here. For either one of these teams, it's going to, for both teams, it's going to impact playoff positioning and where these teams land up in their respective regions in the rankings. So at the end of the day, Dunbar, I think, may have found their footing a little bit better here in the last couple of weeks, especially after the slip-ups they had with teams like Naples and especially Port Charlotte. And Dunbar, in my opinion, I think they're going to figure this out, and they're going to keep figuring this out because I think they're beating Fort Myers, who is taking a little bit of a slide here, especially after what happened last week against Charlotte. So, Reno, how are you feeling here?
Absolutely. With the way Dunbar played, they figured out, like you said, they found their footing. They're marching right in for the rest of the season. Dunbar all the way.
Yeah, and Christopher Like is going with us as well. And Dunbar, Eric Daniels says Dunbar, and Mark Cannon is going opposite of us and going with the Red Knights. So,
Oh, no. Those Knights failed me. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, they failed me too. So, yes. We'll have to see what else, if anybody else has got picks as we roll along here. We got another picking of the pick here. Peace River Robbery. I did throw up a little poll in the YouTube chat, and I'm going to go to it here because in the poll, it's a 100%. They're going Port Charlotte with this one, and I have to go with Jenny's going with the Knights. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right,
Jenny.
she's throwing in
Jenny, the Knights.
Okay. All right. Yes. But I'm going to, with this Peace River Rivalry, Charlotte looking pretty solid. Got that clutch win against Fort Myers, but Port Charlotte's a whole different animal. And honestly, to me, Port Charlotte is just one of those teams it's hard to beat them. And I'm rolling with the Pirates here. And Eric Daniels is rolling with Port Charlotte by 21 here in this game in the Peace River Rivalry, which will, by the way, will we play tonight? Play tomorrow night. Ron Saleta is going with Port Charlotte, and Emory Williams says both Port Charlotte and Charlotte have had great seasons. Port Charlotte has been really impressive this year. I'm going with the Port Charlotte Pirates for the win. So, are you with Port Charlotte? Are you with Charlotte?
Port Charlotte.
Port Charlotte, yes. And Mark Cannon. Oh, I was expecting Mark Cannon to chime in. There he is, Port Charlotte as well. So, yes, indeed. Port Charlotte, indeed. Christopher Like says Charlotte will win, but it will be Port. Yes. I like it. Good one, Chris. Good one, Chris. Thank you so much on that one. Give me a good laugh there. But Port Charlotte by 7 there. Mm-hmm. By the way, yes, indeed. Port Charlotte by 7. So, all right. Jenny said I did my research. I love it.
I believe it too. I really believe her.
Okay. I do believe it too myself as well. I really do. So, yes, Ryan Grow, I do see your question in the thing. I'll get to it right after we get done with the pick 6. So I will answer that question when we get done with the pick 6 here. Just stand by. All right, the District 2A10 title, Glade Central 9-0 at Bishop Verot 6-3. This one is for the District 2A10 title. I mean, Glade Central coming off an overtime win against Pahokee to take the Muck Bowl back. But Bishop Verot got some momentum coming off that 19-14 win over Miami Palmetto. And this one is going to be interesting because this one could go either way. Reno, have you dropped your shoe yet to see where the toe is going to point?
The toe has pointed towards Glades on this one.
And I am going Glade Central as well with that one. And Glade Central for the win for Reno's pick. All right. So Ron Saleta says Verot by 14. So I figure we're going to have a split here with the picks here. Mark Cannon is going Bishop Verot. Eric Daniels is riding with Bishop Verot, hot off the win. But Glade Central will say, hey, we're hot off a big win, too, over our rival Pahokee. So we'll see what happens there. And Christopher Light is going by 1.
How are we going to go by 1? I need to understand this.
20-19. 20-19. Glade Central comes in with the late scoring touchdown.
If we only put half the ball in, do I get half the points?
Hey, hey, it's 19 and a half and 19. There you go. What Emery Smith says, Glade Central. I agree with that pick, but it should be an interesting game. And Mark Cannon, is Carter Smith going to play? That is the biggest question mark, and we don't know yet, considering that he has been hurt. So if Carter Smith doesn't play, it could be Glade Central. But if Carter Smith plays, it could be a really, really tight ball game. But we will see there. And Mark Cannon says Jenny knows best, and Jenny's like. I love it. All right. All right. Ron Slater says Glades has a much weaker schedule than. You can say that, but Glade Central they have shown some life here and showing some improvement. So I got to give it to them. So. All right. I know we're running over here. We're trying to get through this here. We got one more game to pick, and it's the game of the year. This is the big one here, people. Big one. Wiregrass Ranch 9-0 at Mitchell 9-0. This is for a district title. The district 6A9. Both teams running almost neck and neck in the playoff rankings. Someone is going to get a high seed with this. Both teams may end up with both high seeds the way they've been playing this year. But Wiregrass Ranch 9-0, Mitchell 9-0. It's a battle of the Bulls versus the Mustangs. All right. This one is hard to say how this one's going to go because this is going to be a tight ball game. But in my opinion, I feel like Mark Cantor has stepped out his team just a little bit more in terms of the scheduling versus what Andy Schmitz has done with Mitchell this year. But credit to both teams, 9-0 coming in on this one. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this game goes to potential overtime. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of like wrinkle thrown into all of this. Honestly, this game, you might as well go ahead and set up the fork, knife, and spoon, the dinner plate, everything, and get ready for this one because you're going to be having dinner there at Mitchell over there in Trinity in Pasco County and with Wiregrass Ranch. But my thing is Mark Cantor's team, I think, edges it out here ever so slightly. I'm going with the Bulls here in this one. Reno, this one's tough.
The ranch is real.
Okay.
I've picked them all year so far to this point, and I'm sticking with it with the momentum they have. Ranch for the win. All
right. You hear Reno with the pick. Christopher Like is going Mitchell by 2 and triple overtime. That is bold. That is bold pickings.
I like that.
That is bold pickings. Mark Cannon is going to that game. Mark Cannon, I want a report after that game because this one's going to be good.
We need pictures and videos.
I'm going to Wiregrass Ranch at Mitchell Thursday night. He's taking Mitchell. Eric Daniels, Wiregrass on the road. Side night, Palmetto will take the region. Well, I disagree because West Boca Raton was number 1 this past week, and they beat Delray Beach Atlantic. I think West Boca is actually going to be the 1 seed in that region, actually, because of that. So, yes, indeed. And
that's a bold move, Cotton.
Mark Cannon says, you got it. He's got very bold indeed. He's like, bold move, Cotton. Yes, indeed.
Very bold move.
Yeah, maybe they should put that game on ESPN 8 de Ocho. All right, we ran over time, big time on this one, but there was a lot of fun here, a lot of talk about here on this one. And Reno, any final thoughts here as we wrap this up here real quick and get ready for the next show, which will be the South Florida Blitz?
The Gulf Coast Blitz and the Gulf Coast region has started to become one of my favorite ones to analyze and talk about. So, some really good matchups this week, a lot of potential for the playoffs this week in this region. So keep your eyes open, keep your ears locked in, and remember the game of football is about inches, and it happens in the trenches.
No, absolutely. And then he's like, ESPN late Ocho does exist. Yes, we know. I like it. It just come around a little bit.
I was watching the silly basketball game that you play in the arcade. They had a championship the other night. We were watching it.
Like it. Yes, indeed. But everyone else says, great listening to you once again, Josh and Rena. Great show. Appreciate that. Henry. All right. Well, we're wrapping up the Gulf Coast Blitz. Yeah, 0 on the clock. We're going to have the South Florida Blitz coming up here in just a few minutes here. We'll be right back here on the FortHSFootball.com social media networks and FortHSFootball.com. We'll be right back right after this for the
Thanks,
South Florida
everyone.
Blitz. Have a good one, everybody.